Hello to all the Web3 enthusiasts out there. This is Max speaking, and welcome to the new exciting episode of Synopsis. Our today's guest is Jonas Lamis, so please welcome. How are you today, Jonas?
Doing great, Max. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk about the wonderful world of NFTs and what we're doing at Rarible.
Yeah, so let's dive into it. A really fancy world, and as one of the key representatives, I must say, of this world, you show it even with your background in your office. Very nice looking atmosphere you had there.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. I these are a couple the colorful computer over here is and this plexiglass cube over here are both artworks that were created by my dad.
Oh,
He was an artist and a sculptor. And he started out making these plexiglass sculptures back in the day, got kind of famous for that for a while. And then he shifted in the 1980s to becoming a computer artist. And that's what this old IBM PC Junior is over here. Yeah, it runs sometimes still, but it's one of the very early examples of digital art, and in some way or other, I found myself back into that profession here, like 50 years later, which is kind of interesting.
wow, sounds awesome. So very interesting to know when there is some story behind the things, and the real piece of art should have this story. Thanks for sharing. And
Yeah,
yeah, for today, we actually have a lot of questions prepared. So let's start shooting them one by one, if you don't mind.
let's do it.
Okay, to begin with, since it's the first time at Synopsis, could you please tell us about your journey in Web3? So we know that you previously worked in AI and software, and then you made it into Web3. So what was the reason for that, and how did it happen?
Yeah, I think we have to go all the way back to like 2014, and I just had co-founded like you said, an AI company. Back then, we didn't call it AI; we called it machine learning. In 2014 in San Francisco, I and a couple friends had a crazy idea about creating a new programming language for data analysis, and so we started this company called Sensei, and and we were, hard at work on Second Street down in San Francisco, and this other company comes in like down the block from us, called Coinbase. This thing we were like, "What's Coinbase?" We'd never heard of anything like this, and they started talking about these crypto things, and so me and my friends we completely ignored it. Like, who knows what's going on there? AI is the place to be. And so then fast forward to 2017, and our company gets acquired by another company, like almost like a defense contractor type company, and that let me kind of take a break and figure out what did I miss over those last 3 years. And so I revisited what was that Coinbase company going on down there, and I learned about Bitcoin at that point in time. So I was somewhat late to the Bitcoin story, but somewhat early to overall crypto, I guess you'd say. So in 2017, talked to some investors and learned about the wonderful world of ICOs that was starting to happen back then. So I guess, like a lot of people on this call, probably I was class of 2017, as they say, for the crypto space. And I started going deep down that rabbit hole. My first love in the crypto space was the blockchain called Tezos. And I got really excited. I read the white paper. I got really excited about the vision that Tezos was putting out there with proof of stake, which was a new thing compared to like Ethereum was still on proof of work, for example. And I got really excited about that. Got really into it, and really my first investments and my first operating experience was in the Tezos ecosystem. So I'll
Wow,
pause there and see where you want to go from there.
awesome. So great story. Thanks for sharing. And now let's move on to the actually main part of today's discussion devoted to actually Rarible. And as you said, I'm going to discuss a lot about NFTs. But actually, the first question would be, what is Rarible besides NFTs. So if I'm not mistaken, you position yourself as an on-chain commerce platform. So could you please tell us something more about it?
Yeah. So let me tell you kind of my big picture viewpoint on the crypto space here and what on-chain commerce means. And that is that, you know, crypto runs on these key concepts of decentralization, and that's really the main underlying element of what our whole world is about. And there's really only two types of business models that we are decentralizing across all of crypto. Where one is called the fungible business model, and the other is called the non-fungible business model. And in the fungible business model, we're talking about decentralized finance, DeFi. We're talking about how DeFi is going to turn all of traditional finance on its head, and all of the great things that we're seeing in the DeFi space and the fascinating evolution of on-chain, transactions related to stocks and perps and tokens and all those kinds of things. It's all fungible activity and it runs on fungible rails. The flip side of that is the only other type of activity out there can be non-fungible activity. And non-fungible activity represents all the things that are commerce related. So everything that we buy and sell in this world, that is a unique asset, be it a piece of clothing or a piece of digital art or anything in between, those are all non-fungible things. And so at Rarible, we kind of have this belief that eventually all of commerce is going to run on decentralized rails, just like we think all of finance is going to run on decentralized rails. And so the opportunity for Rarible is non-fungible. And obviously, non-fungible are the first two words in NFT, non-fungible tokens, right? And so NFTs and non-fungible rails and on-chain commerce are really all the same thing. But they're a different way of saying it. And in many ways, the early days of the NFT space were so crazy that the term NFT has almost gotten a bad name. And so for us to grow up as an industry, I think we have to adopt some industry nomenclature. And so on-chain commerce is a much more adult way, I think, of explaining where the world's going to go on the non-fungible side.
Got it. Awesome. And could you tell us what pieces of infrastructure, sorry, are the most popular among your customers?
Yeah, totally. So, um, you know, we have, you can think of Rarible as of having three different customer types. One of our customer types is creators, people who have come to Rarible since the very beginning to be able to produce digital creations that they want other people to buy on chain. There's, we've had thousands and thousands of those people, and we can talk about that down the road here. The the next class of customers is buyers of those things and traders of those things, and Rarible has a great marketplace, and we can talk about that. But then the third class of customer is the underlying infrastructure providers, and those we call those blockchains. So one of the really cool things that's happened since the evolution of the NFT standard is that it's been adopted by many, many different protocols and many, many different chains. And it's certainly in the Ethereum EVM ecosystem, but it's in many other ecosystems as well. And so at the heart of our business model today is us running infrastructure to let many different chains provide NFT capabilities to their communities. That's kind of the foundational thing that we do. And we do it across more than 40 different blockchains today. And then everything else, be it the creators or the traders or the brands that come to us, all that can be built on top of that underlying infrastructure. So yeah, that's kind of the stack of different. That's at the heart of the stack of all the different functionality that we provide.
Awesome. So thanks for providing a pretty clear image here. And yeah, moving on, let's get back closer to the NFTs actually. And yeah, I'm going back into like 2021. Everyone, almost everyone in the world, I would say, even outside the Web3 industry, started to hear these free letters of NFTs, and the hype was crazy. People were trying to buy and sell literally everything they could call NFTs. And after the hype was gone, many people started to argue that that NFT technology is dead as a concept, as a technology, you name it. But we still see that it's a very big niche of the market, and I do believe there is a very big potential in technology. So the question is to you as an expert in this field. So how has the digital collectibles industry changed after this hype in 2021 was over?
Yeah, that's a great question. Boy, it's changed a lot for Rarible. Rarible was really back in late 2019 when it launched. It was really the only place you could go as a creator to actually have your NFTs minted. We kind of had like this self-service model where you could create a collection, and in the early days, so many of the artists and creators came to Rarible to have that happen, and so many people bought those creations there. And like you said, the market went kind of crazy for that in 2020 and 2021. Massive bubble, massive hype, so many collections, so much money, flowed through it. And then there was kind of the massive downturn in 2022. And fair enough, NFTs felt really dead back in 2022 for a while. But what most people didn't see, I think, and what we were starting to experience in Rarible was that there were kind of three things happening in 2022 and 2023 that were kind of behind the scenes. And one was that um, we were starting to see a broadening of the number of chains that realized that they would ultimately need to have this infrastructure in place. Everybody knew that they needed to have DeFi infrastructure, and every chain was trying to get a DEX going, and perps and things like that. But they also started to realize that they probably would also need non-fungible offerings. And so, something that was largely constrained to Ethereum. Tezos had some interesting digital assets in the early days, but there were not a lot of digital assets on the non-fungible rails early on. By 2022, more and more blockchains were starting to use their foundations to fund initiatives to build NFT infrastructure for those chains. So that was one thing that really started after the bubble. The second thing was that we started to see real brands starting to investigate what the longer term opportunities are going to be here. So in 2022, Rarible started talking to, a number of interesting, toy companies, collectible companies, sports teams. By 2023, we started doing projects with a few of these folks, and in 2024, we really started growing um, on the kind of traditional commerce companies who were trying to start to offer digital assets. And the reason why a brand started thinking about this is because they recognized that there could be a way for them to generate new revenues from existing assets that they already had. If I, one of our customers that is a great example of this is Mattel. And Mattel's a big toy company. Obviously, they run Barbie, they run Hot Wheels, a bunch of other things like that. But we, in particular, worked with them on creating digital versions of their little die-cast cars, the little Hot Wheels cars. And the Hot Wheels garage that we run for them still today is an example of how they already had this really interesting IP, which was these physical cards. Heck, cars, I used to collect them when I was a kid. But moving to the digital age, they realized that there was a new class of collector who might be interested in the digital version of that, especially when you can apply the NFT functionality to it. Like it can be unique, you can trade it, you can maybe redeem it for a physical thing. There's all this value proposition that these brands are starting to explore around that space. So that was the other main driver that was happening, that has really gone on under the covers, and we're starting to see growth in those two areas. And then just the third thing I'll touch on more recently is that we're starting to see some good government clarity on what are NFTs from a financial perspective. How does the government think about them, at least here in the States, which has been an important guide for a lot of the Western world of how they're thinking about these things. And with that clarity is coming new use cases that we're starting to see roll out for the NFT space. So that's all what's going on since the 2021 hype and since NFTs were declared dead.
Wow, awesome. So a great rewind. And what do we have now, actually? What are the current trends in the Web3 collectible industry you can name?
20, yeah, let's jump here to to current dates, 2025, even the past month. There's some really interesting evolutions going on here in 2025. Um, I already talked about new chains, but new chains have been a big driver in 2024 and 2025 for us on our revenue side, on our business side. Um, and some new technology related to chains like cross-chain technology and exchange of assets has been a really interesting trend that's starting to emerge where you can mint an asset and then it can live on any chain, or you can mint an asset on one chain but you can use a token from any chain, for example. These are interesting trends that are starting to emerge on platforms like Rarible and ecosystem in general. Um, and then there's some really interesting financialization models that are emerging. Um, One of the ones that everyone in the NFT space is talking about right now is this project. Most of your audience have probably never heard of this because it's so new, but it's called uh, uh, Punk Strategy. We all know Michael Saylor and his strategy company for creating a treasury for Bitcoin. Punk Strategy is kind of a spin on that. It's a decentralized financial platform for creating a treasury of CryptoPunks, essentially, and a way to monetize those CryptoPunks on an ongoing basis. And this Punk Strategy process launched, I think, about 2 weeks ago, maybe 10 days ago. It's been really the talk of the NFT space, and it's a technology run by TokenWorks that is starting to be rolled out across a number of the other collections as well. I'm personally a big fan of the Chromie Squiggle, which is one of my favorite NFTs, and I believe that the Punk Strategy team said they're going to be rolling out a version of Punk Strategy for Chromie Squiggles this Friday, so I'm getting ready to participate in that one as well. So those are all examples of cool things that are happening. One other one that we can talk about is also the collectible card space is really heating up in the digital world. This company Courtyard is really doing some amazing things at the intersection of physical Pokemon cards and turning them into digital assets and then repackaging them into packs that people can open and have a rip experience with. That's yet another thing here in 2025 that's really doing cool stuff.
Yeah, a lot of cool things happening and great cases. Thanks for sharing. And let's speak a little bit about the business side of the story. Could you please tell us actually about the main revenue drivers for Rarible and how have they changed over the last 5 years?
Absolutely. Um, our business today really has evolved to trying to be a traditional software company that has monthly recurring revenue. Um, and we're thinking a lot about the SaaS business model these days. Um, and so today, I would say about 80% of our revenue comes from contracts that we have with blockchains who pay us on a monthly basis to provide infrastructure services across their ecosystem, and contracts that we have with brands who pay us on a monthly basis to provide marketplaces, white label marketplaces or storefronts, if you will, for their customers, like the Mattel Hot Wheels example that we were talking about. 20% of our business today, I think, probably comes from the underlying transactions that flow through our system. So if a new creator or a new brand sells a new set of products on one of our marketplaces or on one of our pages, we'll take a transaction fee on that initial sale. And then if someone buys that and then resells it to someone else, there's a small transaction fee that we charge on that. So today we're like 80% software and 20% transactions, where, you know, 2, 3 years ago, it was like 80 to 100% transaction based, essentially. So it's been a real change trying to create a sustainable business model over the last few years.
Awesome. And also a few questions about the user experience. So it's also a big part of the story. So could you tell us how has the acquisition of Flipp upgraded the user experience on Rarible?
Yeah. About a month ago or so, we announced that we had acquired a company called Flipp, and Flipp was known for some mobile products that they had launched in the NFT space and in the crypto space. And um, we believe that, you know, mobile is actually going to be a really important part of the on-chain commerce story going forward here. If you want to be the Web3 Shopify. That's sort of how I tell our team, like, we're going to be the Web3 Shopify someday. You know, I think you're going to have mobile offerings that people can take advantage of, and you're going to have tie-ins to all the social apps and things like that. And for the Flipp acquisition, one of the most important drivers for us is to get our team to start thinking about how to build things that normies can use. You get into the crypto space and you go so nerdy on wallets and contract addresses and making sure you have security and all those kinds of things that that you lose the mission to try and grow this service into a billion users or billions of users around the globe who don't have that experience and don't have a desire to do those things. And so Flipp with Artem and his team really is helping us drive a user experience and adoption that is pushing that direction. And I'd also shout out to a couple of partners that we're working with, Privy, for example, and Crossmint. Those are great partners who are also really focused on trying to drive user adoption for normal people. And so we work with them to really make this total experience something that's going to be very scalable for everyone.
Awesome. And another big thing, to be the leader in the industry, in the field, you don't just need to be better in everything than your competitors, but you should have some unique features. And could you actually tell us about this unique retail user and business targeted features of Rarible that put you aside of your competitors and which they don't have?
Yeah, I think if you were to look at the NFT space in 2021, 22, you'd see a handful of kind of these large NFT marketplaces. You'd see Rarible, you'd see OpenSea, you'd see Magic Eden, Blur, all kind of competing on in the same models. Some are more artist focused, some are more trader focused, but basically doing the same thing. Um, I think we uniquely have pivoted away from that and are very focused now on trying to provide that underlying infrastructure to the broadest number of chains so that they can provide infrastructure to their communities so their communities can build on the NFT rails or the non-fungible rails. I think that's a big differentiator for where we are. I'd say this kind of multi-chain support combined with our ability to deploy for a brand to come along and to subscribe to us and to deploy their own marketplace or to deploy their own white label site with their own URL where their customers can take part in the NFT space. Those are kind of big differentiators for us now versus the competition.
Got it. Sounds great. And yeah, so let's put a small question here in between before moving to the next block of questions. So what you mentioned today is that the hype of NFTs was actually looking like a bubble collapse, and I believe that for many people, this was a very, very red flag, putting the cross on the technology and seeing only fraud in all the concept of NFTs. So, could you please tell us what is the biggest misconception about NFTs that you've proven wrong for people?
Um, so the biggest misconception, I think we still have a lot of proving to do. To your point, like I think we have a lot of trust that we still have to earn back across the NFT space based on how crazy that bubble was. Um, and I think for me, the biggest aha that I've had is that NFTs in that first phase were almost all based on financialization. People bought them because they wanted the value to go up. And that whole kind of scheme that people bought into, that there's always another buyer, proved out not to be true for the vast majority of these NFTs. But on the other side, there were, and there still endure, some really great collectibles that have emerged out of that space that people still want to own. They want to have and have access to, and they use for various things. There's the art side. There's the Pokemon collectible side, as we're talking about here. And so I say the biggest misconception is that um, you don't have NFTs are not just going to be about value go up. NFTs are going to be about creating new use cases for brands and new value propositions for the owners of those NFTs. And for example, if I have a NFT from a sports team today, I might be able to use that NFT to get me some premium access to a physical experience. And that kind of access is not about the value going up per se. It's about new ways that value can flow around the digital world with proof of ownership. And so that's really where we're going from an NFT value proposition.
Oh, okay, awesome. So we've discussed your background, the story of how the market has changed over the last 5 years, what we have now. So time to discuss something about the nearest future. And could you please share the plans of Rarible for the coming year? What should we expect?
Sure. So we recently launched a new version of Rarible.com, which is without doubt the easiest way for people to buy and sell NFTs. As I mentioned, we're really getting into solutions that let non-crypto natives, folks who don't have a lot of depth of experience on wallets and things like that, to be able to take advantage of this. I think you're going to see us adding a bunch of brands and a bunch of Web 2 type companies who are going to start putting offerings out there for the digital asset space and the on-chain commerce space. That's going to be a major move here in 2026. And I think you're also going to see us really lean into the mobile side to make sure that people have the ability to buy, sell, trade, and enjoy digital collectibles anywhere they are in the world.
Sounds great. And uh, what about 5 years from now to
Mhm.
2030? How do, in your opinion, will the on-chain commerce look like?
I mean, I think that almost every brand, every creator is going to have some kind of on-chain storefront, if you will. Today, like I mentioned, I tell the team we want to be the on-chain Shopify. Today companies like Shopify and other marketplace tools and Amazon, for example, have these experiences where every type of company can sell their goods through those interfaces, but they're still traditional commerce. They're still using credit cards. They're still paying fees for those things. There's still not a way to get additional value out of it once you've bought the physical item. I think the NFT space really changes all that and makes things a lot more valuable to own from a digital asset perspective, just for the use cases that are going to be available to those consumers. And I think by 2030, almost all brands are going to have a presence there.
Great. So we'll be tracking how it goes, and yeah, for sure, looking forward for new great milestones to be reached by the industry. Well, we came up to the final traditional part of our interviews. So time to address directly to our audience. Could you please go ahead with some piece of advice, call to action, whatever you find valuable for people to hear right now? Please go ahead.
Yeah, so I would just say my personal advice um, is on the NFT space. I would say, you know, don't buy a digital asset, don't buy an NFT unless you actually like it. Uh, this is not just a token that you should buy to trade because it goes up and down. You should buy it because you have a connection to it, you want to use it, it has aesthetic value to you, or it has some brand value to you, or there's some use case associated with it that you think you're going to find value around. So be mindful. Don't just buy because the next person did. Buy because you really believe that you are going to get some usage out of the NFT.
Wow, a great ending. Completely agree, and hopefully it can reach the minds of our audience. And yeah, for today, that's it. Thank you very much, Jonas, for joining us. And I would say we created a interesting view on Rarible, that it is not only about NFTs, but there is a very big picture, and we'll be happy to see you in more episodes to discuss it in more details.
Awesome. Max, thanks so much for having me today, and good luck to everybody out there.
Yeah, so thanks for everyone for watching till the end. And yes, guys, if you have any more questions left after today's discussion, drop it in the comment section. Follow Rarible on social, follow Jonas not to miss the big things, and see you in more episodes. Bye bye, everyone.